Hi folks, how are you doing? Today in the fourth round of the Baku FIDE Grand Prix we saw some uneventful and boring draws, like the game between Tomashevsky and Karjakin, shameful one. But fortunately we also saw a great, amazing game between the sensation of the elite chess right now, the great Caruana from Italy with white pieces, and the local player Mamedyarov with black, known to be an attacking and imaginative player. So really a game worth looking at and analyzing deeply. This was a great fight, and let us see what happened. 1d4 is what Caruana plays. He sometimes plays the the queen's pawns instead of 1e4, and we reach a Slav defense. Knight f3, knight f6, e3, the slow approach to the Slav, bishop g4, now knight c3 and e6. This is a very well known position of the Slav, or maybe Semi-slav we should call it already. Queen to b3, attacking the b7 weak pawn, one of the few drawbacks that this bishop g4 move has. Of course black is able to defend it with the typical move queen b6. Whenever takes the queen here, exchanges the queen, is giving the opponent the open a file, so neither of them are willing to do that. And now Caruana plays knight to h4 to prevent this bishop from taking the knight, doubling pawns. And now his plan is to try to chase up this bishop while he wins space on the king side with h3, g5 and capture on g6. I think this is quite a standard plan in this kind of Slavs, closed positions. Bishop goes voluntarily to h5, so that after h3 willing to play g4 and then capture with the knight. After h3 what Mamedyarov had in mind was this very aggressive and committing move g5, attacking the knight. So well, Caruana just goes back, inviting the bishop to take on f3 right now, because that would open the g file in white's favor, I think. At the same time the knight is attacking the pawn here on g5, so Mamedyarov just defends that with h6. Fabiano decides to grab space also on the queen side. He plays c5, queen goes back to c7, white keeps developing, bishop to d3 and rook g8. Mamedyarov is showing his cards. He's going to go for the kingside attack, as he's already committed himself with the g5 advance. Now he's putting the rook behind. It's clear he wants to push this pawn, open up things on the king side and go for a quick attack. In fact, we're gonna see a very unbalanced position in a couple of moves. So queen c2 was played here, knight b d7, and white has the space on the queen side. He keeps pushing there. Caruana plays b4, and we have a clear plan for each player. White Caruana has the queen side, the strong pawns here, the space, so he's certainly wishing to play a4, b5, kind of a bayonet attack on this queen side. Meanwhile black is really completely burning the bridges. He's trying to push his kingside pawns, trying to open this up and go for the quick attack. Very interesting position, complex one, and we're gonna see really nice stuff emerging from this. Bishop e7, bishop b2, and finally g4. After almost completing development, Mamedyarov pushes his g pawn. H takes, he takes with the rook, a good rook now in open file, attacking the unprotected g2 pawn. Now pushing the pawn to g3 would be very weakening. The light squares, this bishop on h5 would be enormous there, controlling this weak light square diagonal. So white has a couple of reasonable options here. King f1 is what Caruana plays. Seems kind of reasonable. Although the engine says castling is possible, he's not losing on the spot, but I would think without an engine that this is half suicidal, because black's plan is very easy. Castle long, put the other rook on g8 and go for the quick checkmate. The queen is also putting lots of pressure through this dark square diagonal. Even the knight, the bishop on h5, this looks, I mean, if you're not looking at an engine, this should be almost lost for white, at least for a petzer like me. It smells like that. But okay, this wasn't played. Caruana just plays king f1, protecting there with the king from f1. Well, black castles long still, and here Caruana very wisely recognizes the necessity to relocate his knight on c3 for defensive purposes. So the knight goes to e2 to go either to g3 to f4. f4 is actually a great square attacking the bishop and forcing black to do what we're about to see. Mamedyarov plays rook d to g8, knight f4, and once you're here with black pieces, you kind of have to play this rook takes f4 move, otherwise black's position makes no sense. I mean, white is attacking the h5 bishop with the knight and the rook on h1, so if bishop tries to go back and plays defensively after knight takes, well, what are you going to take it with? If if the pawn takes, well, h6 falls and black's position doesn't make any sense. Both rooks are kind of missing each other, and of course if rook takes, then there is a bishop take on g6 there. So sacrificing the exchange and going for the checkmate was basically compulsory here for black. So Mamedyarov, of course a great attacker, can smell it. He's here for the checkmate. Now he takes on f3 as well, giving white this extremely horrible looking triple pawns on the f file, and which is more important, a really open king on f1. He takes one of the pawns on f4 with the king. He sacrificed some material, he took a pawn back, but an extremely interesting position arises. He has a very nice looking queen on f4 controlling lots of squares. The rook on g8 is key, and right now he's threatening to take on f3 with very dominant position. So white just cannot play something like a4 or nothing move, because queen takes f3. The knight will join the party through e4 or even g4, and white is nearly lost here. The pressure against the king on f1 is too much. So white, I mean, if you put this on the engine, he says, well, white is winning +2, very well, but white is walking on a very thin ice here, and Caruana should be here very careful and very precise, as his king is in absolutely big danger of being checkmated in any inaccurate move. So not a4, but king e2 is what Caruana plays to protect the f3 pawn with the king. Now rook g2 was played, queen to c1, trying to exchange queens. Needless to say that if that happens, the position is resignable for black, because white has a material advantage, and without attack black should resign here. Actually, I was thinking about a move here which is surprisingly not losing on the spot. Rook ag1, trying to exchange rooks. Obviously queen c1 is much stronger, you couldn't expect anything else about a suggestion of mine, but rook ag1 is not that bad. Maybe white keeps some advantage according to the engine, and the point is that rook takes, black has this queen h1, somehow annoying move, just molesting this rook on g1. Queen d1 is suggested, but now bishop to knight to h5. The knight and the bishop could get very active through this queen side. Okay, it was just a move I thought about during the analysis of this game. Queen c1 obviously is stronger, because that's what Caruana played. Queen goes to g3, a very funny position. Black is attacking the f2 pawn with both the rook and the queen, and as the pawn is pinned, it cannot take, of course, the queen on g3, so something must be done about that f2 pawn. Queen goes to f1 defending, and now, well, while we're here, why don't we sacrifice another piece? Let's go knight g4. I mean, black is here for checkmate. If not, you go home, so you have to give it all. This is all in by Shahryar Mamedyarov. Great stuff. Knight g4, f takes g4, and queen takes g4 check to open up more lines. King here went to d2 initially. Let us see why white shouldn't go to e3, never ever in this position. Well, if you want to spot the checkmate in a couple of moves, you can stop the video and think if you can see it. Not that hard actually, I guess. The checkmate is starting with bishop g5 check, f4, queen to g3 check, queen to f3, and bishop takes on f4. Checkmate, thanks for the game. Instead, king to d2 was played by Caruana, but after queen to f4 check, he goes back to e2. So after queen g4 check, he decides now to go to e1, which actually is stronger according to the engine. Lots of subtleties there, I'm sure. I'm not understanding, but this play seems to be safer for the king e1. And now, how many pieces are we? Do we have? Queen, rook, bishop, and the knight. Well, let's sacrifice another one. Who cares? Knight to e5. I mean, this is amazing. Black keeps sacrificing pieces, and even if the engine says this is won by white, this is the strongest move black here has, and Caruana really must be very accurate. His king is really in great danger in tons of lines, so this is very dangerous for white, even if he has lots of pieces. So I'm sure an amateur player like me would lose this as white like 1,000 times. So well, the immediate thing is that this knight shouldn't be taken on e5, as queen takes b4 check is giving black lots of great perspectives, more open lines, something like king e2, another check from g4, king d2. Now black can take on with the bishop. He still has a piece there, although he sacrificed quite a couple of them, and he has 3 pieces only in the board, but all of them are very harmoniously coordinated against this poor white king, with the immediate threat being to take on f2, I guess. So this is amazing. White is up how many? 2 pieces? Yeah, 2 pieces, but engine says black is better, so this is how amazing chess is. So it shouldn't be taken on the spot. Bishop e2 is what Caruana plays instead. Here attacking the queen. Queen goes to e4 with the threat, I guess, being knight to d3 check, attacking the king with the check, and also the f2 pawn, so that later you can take it with the rook, I assume. So I assume that's why Fabiano goes with the king to d1. Now this is an interesting battle. The king has been moving for a bunch of moves right now, but that's what it is all about. Avoid being checkmated and you'll be winning because you're up 2 pieces for some pawns. Mamedyarov plays bishop g5, certainly controlling tons of squares around this poor white king, but fortunately for Caruana he still has defensive resources, like taking the knight on a5 right now. Still queen takes b4 is the move that Mamedyarov plays after the knight is taken in on e5. Not a brainer here. Checkmating one move is threatened, so king keeps walking around. Now to c2, queen takes on c5 with a check, king b1. Finally this Voyager king finds some safety on the b1 square. Now rook takes on f2, queen to d1 keeps protecting everything, like the bishop, the c1 square, the c2 square, everything. And now often queen e3 and rook e1. Finally Mamedyarov resigned here after 34 moves. I mean, white finally solidifies his position. His king is not that much of a great danger anymore, and black's initiative, black's strong initiative, has somehow vanished. So white has a rook and the bishop against 5 pawns of black. Ridiculous material imbalance when the dust goes off from the battle board like this. So well, that was a great game by both players. I mean, Mamedyarov was very brave and imaginative here, sacrificing all he had to go for the crazy and nice checkmate. And fortunately for him, Fabiano Caruana kept finding the accurate and difficult defensive game moves to finally score the full point here in this very amazing battle in the FIDE Grand Prix in Baku. Thanks for watching.